Adobe released some pretty substantial updates to Lightroom Classic and Adobe Photoshop Camera Raw. It is April of 2023, so let's take a look at the updates that we have here. If you go to your About Lightroom, you'll see we're on version 12.3. If you're using Camera Raw, these updates are the same. I'm not going to show them, but you'd be in Camera Raw 15.3. So make sure you update that, and please direct all questions on updating and how to find them over to Adobe. Let's take a look at the first one that we have here, which is going to be noise reduction. Noise reduction and masking are going to be the two biggest things that got updated. So let's head over to develop and we'll scroll down. We have a detail panel over here, which we've had for a while. And what you're going to see now is the old noise reduction is now listed as manual noise reduction. And it's got this little flippy arrow that might be closed, so you might have to twirl it open to see what was inside there. But now we have a button that says denoise. So we'll click that button and it's going to open up the enhance window. So this is the same enhance window that we get with the raw details and the super resolution feature. This has been something that's been around in Lightroom for a while, so I'm not going to go over what they are. I typically don't use them, but again, you should always do your own tests to see how they work for your photos. The denoise part is what is new here. So I'm going to click the little zoom out button, and this is going to let me just put my cursor somewhere to click, and now I can zoom in to see a little bit better some of the edges there. And it's only one adjustment, okay? That's it. You can dial it back and forth. Okay, 0 all the way up to 100. I always tell people the best way to do it is experiment with the extremes to see what we want. All right, you typically don't want a smooth plasticky painting. So I'm finding somewhere in the 50 to 60 range seems to be a pretty good spot for this one. So once you're done there, it gives you an estimated time of what this is going to take to render. And it's going to create another photo or another copy of your photo as a DNG. So it lets you put that into a stack automatically. I've already done this. I'm not going to click on it, but yeah, 25, 30 seconds is about right for this one here. Okay. Also, I've done a longer video on the noise reduction part of this where I compare it with the old version versus the new version, and also do a little bit of a comparison with a popular noise reduction plugin. So check the description for that link if you want to learn a little bit more about it. But once it's done, it will have created that extra DNG file here. Okay, so if you hover over it, you can see that it just enhances, it puts enhanced and NR for noise reduction at the end of the name for it. Also, this is a great time for a very, very quick 30-second word from our sponsor. You saw a couple wildlife photos in this one. If you are into photographing wildlife, I've got a great course on editing that wildlife. It's a topic that I find a lot of people don't talk about, especially, think of it as a landscape, right? We have harsh light sometimes, we've got dark shadows, we've got bright highlights, we've got distractions, all those things that make editing wildlife just a little bit different from how we'd edit landscapes. And I've got a really popular course, very affordable, very easy to get through, that will help you with some of those wildlife photos that you have. So I hope you'll swing by and check it out. Okay, next up is the masking new features here. So I'm going to go click on the masking tool up there. And as it should do, it finds the people. I'm going to click on the gentleman because one of the features for this is facial hair. All right, so we'll go ahead and turn that one on. You can see it outlines that in red. So we've got facial hair and we also have clothes. Okay, so those are two new masking options that we have. I'll cancel out of there. The other thing that we're able to do is, so if I were to do select background in this case, that would put a selection or a mask around there. If you scroll down through your masking settings, you will be very happy to know, or some of you will be happy to know, we now have curves. So we can put curves in there. I've never been a big curves fan because I can do everything I want with contrast, but I know lots of people love curves and have for a very long time wanted curves inside of Lightroom Classic. We got it in Camera Raw a while ago, but it took Lightroom a little while to catch up here. So now we do have curves and you have all the color channels to go along with it. From there, another thing that we can do requires you to have multiple photos selected. So I'm going to click on one photo in the film strip and then shift click on the other photo. So I have two photos selected. You can see under the photo menu, if you go down to edit in, we can also open multiple photos as smart object layers in Photoshop, meaning they would go into the same document. Before we could open a photo as a smart object in Photoshop, but not multiple photos as multiple layers into that same document. And then if you go into your preferences Under external editing, you'll see that you can choose the Photoshop version. I pretty much delete the old Photoshop versions as the new ones come out, but if you do have multiple versions inside of there, I suppose that could be a useful feature for you if you wanted to choose the version to open when you edit to Photoshop. And then the last little feature here is pretty simple one. Let's actually get out of our masks here. It's a pretty simple one. It's something that's been around for a while. You can find it easier now. You're gonna see little eyeball icons next to each of the panels. So you can turn these off, just click on it to turn it off, and then turn it back on to see the before and after, or basically turn the settings for that panel off. Okay, so you can just turn those on and off. If you hold down the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on PC, you'll see these little toggle switches, which basically always did the same thing, but it was just nobody clicked on them, and I think the eyeball icons are better. Plus, we can turn the basic panel off, which we weren't able to do. And then the last one, which I think is really useful, is you're gonna see little dots along your tool panel up there that let you see when settings have been added to the photo, which is helpful because now I know, okay, this photo is cropped, it's had some healing done to it, it's had some masking done to it, so those little dots make it simple to know exactly what you did for your photo. And as I mentioned earlier, I really just glazed over the noise reduction, which is actually, I think, a really big feature, and I did a much more in-depth video on that noise reduction, so if that's something you're interested in, that'd be a great video to go watch next.